Hi everyone, welcome to the Rugby League History channel. I hope you're all well on this Saturday. The video I'm going to be doing tonight is the Parramatta NRL 2020 season review. Before I get into the review, if you haven't yet already subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe by clicking that subscribe button and clicking that notification bell so you get notified and you keep in the loop when I do a new video. I'm up to 258 subscribers at the moment. I'm hoping to get to 300 by the end of the month. If you could support the channel and share the channel and get it out there, that'd be smashing. So thank you everyone for your ongoing support. So the Parramatta Eels, they come into this year predicted to come into the finals positions at the end of the year, and they did so. They finished in 3rd place, which was their best end of a season since the 2005 minor premiership season. They had 15 wins for the year and they had 5 losses. In their last 10 matches they had a win-loss record of 5 wins and 5 losses, and they had a points differential of 104 plus. I predicted Parramatta to come 11th at the start of the year. I thought that the expectation over the club to make the top 4, to make the finals, would probably be too great. Being a Parramatta fan myself, the club hasn't put together 2 good seasons since the late 1990s, so I thought that, okay, we were 4th place 2017, wooden spooners 2018, 5th place 2019, that maybe this year we wouldn't live up to expectation. There was also a lot of expectation around some of the new signings, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Ryan Matheson and the like of that. So I predicted them to come 11th, but they defied my expectations early on. They won 8 of the first 10 matches and they were leading the competition for the first 2 months of the year. And I thought that they started off the year really well. They beat Canterbury, they beat the Gold Coast. Then the COVID situation happened, the competition was suspended for 2 months. I think that it benefited us greatly because one of our best players, Reid Marnie, was injured. And he was looking at about 6 to 8 weeks on the sideline, and it just so happened that the game that he got injured in, and by the time that he come back, we were ready to go in the round 3 after about 2 months of layoff. I thought that our first half of the year was really good. We played some really good rugby league, and a lot of people were kind of wondering when this particular run was going to come to an end. There was the usual thing that happens when Parramatta does well. The media comes out, the other team's fans come out and go, it's only a matter of time before yous will all choke and it'll be another disappointing year. And I think that the turning point for that come when we were beaten 22 points to 18 at Brookfield Oval against Manly, because the polar opposite from the first half of the year to the second half of the year was great. The first half of the year we were smashing, the attack was good, the defence was good. And then the second half of the year, at times it looked like we didn't know each other. The attack was really blunt, it wasn't good. The defence was getting exposed, especially on the edges, from all sorts of teams, not just the teams up the top, but the teams below us were exploiting that, going to either Michael Jennings and Sivo's wing or going to Blake and Ferguson's wing and just tearing apart our edges. I thought that although we weren't playing the greatest, I think the effort was still there. I still think that's the way that we didn't stop trying was a good sign, but the defence in particular was very worrying. The attack was blunt. Towards the back end of the year, I think that the attack was improving again. It looked like we were starting to play like we did earlier in the year in spades and in some parts, but the defence was still a worry. We had a couple of teams, most notably West Tigers and South Sydney and New Zealand, really exploit those edges, and they really tore us apart on the edges. And we ended up finishing the year in 3rd, and then we had the 2 finals matches against Melbourne where we were in front of that game. We did some daft things. We didn't compose ourselves well. We ended up losing that match. And then today, the same thing against South. The game was there to be won, 18 points to 8 up at half time, and then capitulate in that. Now, I'm not going to go too much into that because I'm going to save that for another video, which is going to be titled Parramatta Eels, and it's going to be titled The Choking is in Our DNA. As simple as that. The choking is the choking, and how we capitulate in finals matches over the last 20 years. It's in the club's DNA. And I'm going to save that talk for the video that I'm going to be doing next. I'm just going to focus on this year. I think looking at the year in a review, doing this review now, I'm just going to be blunt and see that from my perspective, it's been a failure. I think coming third, having a good start of the year like we did and not kicking on with it is very disappointing. The fact that this is our third finals appearance in 4 years, and in those 3 finals appearances we'll be the second week and we haven't gone any further. This season has a lot of a 2017 feel to it. We played well in 2017 in some parts. We went on a good run, we got to the finals, and then we capitulated in both matches. And this year it's exactly the same thing. If I'm to go into some of the players of the year, without even looking at the stats and just going off what I've seen this year, Clint Gutherson 110% was our player of the year. Without Clint Gutherson, I don't know where we would be on a table. He won quite a few games for us just off his own back. He pretty much leads the stats in every single category, or nearly every single category. The top point scorer of the year went to Mitchell Moses, 119. Top try scorer, Micah Sivo with 15 tries. He almost scored double that of anyone else. Clint Gutherson, try assists, 16 try assists. He got double the try assists of anyone else at the club. Most runs went to Clint Gutherson. Most run leaders, Clint Gutherson. Line breaks went to Micah Sivo with 19. Offloads, Junior Paulo with 51. Michael Jennings got the most tackle busts, and the top tackler was Reid Marnie. He made 931 tackles, nearly 200 tackles more than anyone else. If I'm to go into some other players besides Gutherson, who do I think played well this year? I think Nathan Brown had a good year. He never stopped trying. I think Junior Paulo, he had a good year. He could be in contention maybe for a New South Wales jersey, or maybe he might get named in the preliminary squad. I'm not too sure. I think Regan Campbell-Gillard and both Ryan Mattison had fairly good years. I think at times Ryan Mattison went missing in a few matches. I think Regan Campbell-Gillard can hold his head up high and see that he had a good year. Reid Marnie had a good year. He was one of our best players in my personal opinion. I think if I'm to go to some other players, I think Dylan Brown at times was very, very good. But looking at some players that need to improve, or some players that weren't so good, I think Blake Ferguson had a very ordinary year. Wonga Blake, he was good in attack but very, very poor in defence. He wasn't that good. I think Keane Evans did good up until a point, and then when he signed with New Zealand, when it was announced that he was signing with New Zealand, his performances just went downhill after that. I think Andrew Davey, for a 28-year-old rookie, he had a good year. I think he gave it all he could. He was asked to play in a number of different positions on the field to cover injuries and that. Sean Lean's another one where he had sort of a good start of the year, but I think his form over the last 2 to 3 months was shite. I don't think that he was very effective as he was earlier in the year. And I think Mitchell Moses, I'm very critical of Mitchell Moses. I believe that he cost us the game today against South Sydney. It was supposed to be 20 all. It looked like, Parramatta were getting back into the match after South came back in the second half, and he misses a conversion right in front of the post, hits the woodwork, they go down the other end and score, and they never look back. I think in many games this year, Mitchell Moses went missing. He ran sideways too much, he didn't take the line on. I've said numerous times this year that he's a poor man's Nathan Cleary or a poor man's Adam Reynolds. I think going forward that he isn't the halfback that we need to take us forward, but I'm going to mention that in my other video in more detail. I think Brad Arthur once again did an okay job this year getting us to third, but it's one of those things where it's getting to a point where just making the finals and then getting to the second week and getting knocked out isn't good enough. The club is, as of next year, going to be on a 35-year drought, and there's only so much that you can see. We're proud of the club. we're proud of the team, we're proud of the efforts this year, before you kind of go, I've had enough. And for me, I've had enough of it. I think just making the finals and getting out in that second week is not good enough. If I'm going into next year, crystal ball for next year, I think this side is still a side that can make the finals. Whether they can challenge for the Premiership, I'm not too sure. There's going to be a long off season. There's going to be an inquisition into how Parramatta once again capitulated in the finals. I think Parramatta does have a team to make the finals. I think it's all going to depend. There's a couple of players that are going to be released, and it's going to be interesting to see who they recruit. I think the club needs a couple of backs. They also need a couple of forwards. One thing I noticed in the South Sydney game where we lost today was that the bench was very poor, and it was a very weak bench. So we need, when Junior Paulo and Regan Campbell-Gillard go off the field, we need big bodies. We need other big bodies to replace them, and we need some. I think I'm prepared to give Wonga Blake and Ferguson another go next year. I think in the off season, Brad Arthur needs to sit down certain players and look and say, look, we're not going to focus on attack, we're going to focus on defence. I think especially Micah Sivo, Wonga Blake and Blake Ferguson, they just need to practice all off season on defence, practicing defensive scenarios, because the attack's not so bad, but it's the defence. And especially in those last two matches, conceding 36 points against Melbourne and 38 points against South is just not good enough. It's just not good enough for a team that wants to win the Premiership. I think the club also needs to work on consistency, and they need to try to play for 80 minutes, because even though Clint Gutherson was our best player of the year, even he faded in and out of games. Like the game against South and the game against Melbourne in the finals, he only played 30 or 40 minutes. He kind of scored a try, maybe two tries, did a little dance and went, oh well, that's enough, and we don't have to do any more now. And I think some of the other players, they need to learn how to play for 80 minutes. The consistency is really frustrating, because especially in the South game today, they show what they can do. They showed what they can do if they're consistent, because in the first half of the year they were consistent, the attack was consistent and that. And then it was kind of, you'd see matches where they'd have a 5 or 10 minute spate where they'd score 2 or 3 quick tries, and then you kind of go, where'd that come from? And then they'd go back to, going between good and bad. And if you're going to win the Premiership, if you're going to be up there, you have to be consistent. And I think going forward in the next year, the defence has to be better, and the consistency has to be better. And we're going into a 35-year drought next year. I think a club like Parramatta, with all the resources that we've got, the money, the brand, the fans, I think we deserve better. We should have more than 4 premierships, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the off-season with this club. But anyways, everyone, that's my review for the Parramatta side, the 2020 NRL season review. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your comments in the section below. Do you declare the season to be a failure? Do you declare Parramatta to be chokers? Let me know in the comment section below, and make sure that you share the video, and if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Anyways, everyone, I'm going to get out of here, and stay tuned for my next video, which is going to be the Nupty of the Week Awards. Anyways, catch us all here. Tatty bye.